Welcome to the Tim Booker channel. Wisdom is worth spreading, and I wish you a pleasant listening experience. Today, we'll be discussing Money Master the Game. The author of this book is Tony Robbins, a well-known motivational speaker and a world-class expert in personal development from the United States. You might wonder what a personal development expert does. In simple terms, they inspire people to take action and teach them about success. So, why should we listen to a success guru when there are so many other books by financial professionals? What sets this book apart? Firstly, it's because of Robbins' own journey. He went from rags to riches by teaching success principles and then became even wealthier through investment and financial management. He co-founded investment tools for ordinary Americans with Wall Street friends and wrote several best-selling books on achieving financial freedom, translated into numerous languages worldwide. However, these reasons alone aren't enough. In my view, the greatest value Robbins brings is his extensive network of connections. He provides not only public speeches and seminars but also private advisory services to high-profile clients, including former U.S. President Clinton, tennis superstar Serena Williams, actor Leonardo DiCaprio, and many prominent entrepreneurs and finance elites. Now, here comes the key point. To write this book, Robbins leveraged his network to interview 50 investment and finance experts, including Ray Dalio and Warren Buffett. These weren't casual conversations, they often lasted for hours. Robbins, being an excellent communicator, unearthed a treasure trove of insights, including their own asset allocation strategies and practical advice for everyday investors. The book extensively presents the details of Robbins' conversations with these experts, with one of the most surprising parts being the section on Ray Dalio. Dalio provided an asset allocation approach suitable for individual investors, something he hadn't discussed in his book, Principles. We'll delve into this in more detail later. This book is substantial, with 500,000 words and over 800 pages, but it's well-structured. It's divided into 7 sections, teaching us how to create lifelong income and achieve financial freedom in 7 steps. According to Robbins, financial freedom means having investments that provide a stable and continuous cash flow for your entire life. You can do what you love, work for joy, not just for money. Working for money makes you a slave to it, but working for love, money becomes your servant. So, how do you achieve this? Let's discuss the 7 steps outlined in this book. Starting with the first step, which is quite simple, save more money. The author recommends saving at least 10% of your monthly income for investment. But there's an interesting twist to this, the concept of saving more without feeling the pain. The book introduces a method suggested by Nobel laureate and behavioral economics pioneer Richard Thaler, which involves committing to save more of your future raises or income increases. So, you've saved money, now what? How do you invest it to make it grow? Investment and financial product advertisements are everywhere, but the author warns us to be cautious. That's step 2. This book exposes 9 investment marketing myths, but they can be summarized in 2 key points. High returns do not necessarily mean high risk, and actively managed funds are unlikely to consistently outperform the market. Instead, the book advises us to seek smart money opportunities, where the risk-reward ratio is favorable. It also emphasizes the benefits of passive investment strategies, such as index funds, which have low management fees. The book goes further to remind us that indices aren't limited to stock indices. There are also commodity indices, real estate indices, short-term bond indices, long-term bond indices, gold indices, and more. Each of these can be a part of your investment portfolio. The allocation of each type of index in your asset basket will be discussed in detail in the following sections, steps 4 to 6. Now let's move on to the third step, which is called planning. Just as we use navigation when going out, we also need a plan for our careers. Accumulating wealth is no different, you need a solid financial plan. This plan primarily consists of 2 aspects, your financial goals and a path to achieving them. How do you set financial goals? This book suggests 5 levels, which I found quite enlightening. Because when we talk about financial goals, we often mention financial freedom, but many people feel it's too distant and give up. However, the 5 levels outlined in this book are progressive, allowing you to choose based on your needs. The first level is financial security. This means ensuring your basic living expenses are covered, including paying off loans, utility bills, groceries, transportation, and insurance, even if you stop working. If you can also cover some of your discretionary expenses like clothing, entertainment, maintenance, and dining out on top of your basic needs, you've reached the third level, financial independence. So, what's the second level? It can be seen as a transition between the first and third levels. If you can cover your basic living expenses but only need half of your discretionary expenses, you're in the second level, financial vitality. Once you've met your living expenses and discretionary spending, the next step is to fulfill your dream expenses. You undoubtedly have dreams, both modest ones like traveling abroad, owning a better car, or a larger house, and more extravagant ones like having a yacht, a private jet, a mansion, or establishing your own charity foundation, and so on. If you can fulfill those more grounded dreams, you've achieved financial freedom, which is the fourth level. If you can even achieve your wildest dreams, that's absolute financial freedom, the highest fifth level. Let's take an example. Suppose Joker has a monthly mortgage of $6,000, living expenses of $3,000, and discretionary expenses of $2,000. To reach the third level goal of financial independence, he would need $132,000 annually. So, to achieve this without working, Joker would need to rely on investment returns. Assuming Joker invests his money in low-cost stock market index funds, with an average market return of around 6% annually from 2020 to 2030, according to John Bogle's forecast, we can do a rough calculation. $132,000 divided by 6% equals $2.2 million. This means Joker would need to accumulate $2.2 million in his personal wealth fund to expect an annual income of $132,000, covering his living and discretionary expenses. Of course, the 6% return figure is a convenient estimate, and you can recalculate your expected return rate once you have your own asset allocation plan, which will be discussed in steps 4 to 6. Furthermore, we've only calculated the amount Joker needs to reach the financial independence level. If he wants to achieve his dreams, he should factor those expenses into his annual budget. The author mentions that some students have dreams like owning a private jet, an island, or even their sports team, which can lead to very high financial goals, even reaching hundreds of millions. However, the author reminds us that we don't necessarily need to own all these things to enjoy the desired lifestyle. You can rent a private jet, take annual vacations on islands, or become part owners of a sports team. The experiences are what matter, not the possession of assets. The author's message is clear: focus on the kind of lifestyle you want, not the quantity of things you want to own. Possession is not the ultimate goal, money itself is not the goal. The experiences, freedom, and opportunities that money can bring are what we should truly seek. Once you have a clear understanding of this, many people find that the actual cost of their dreams is much lower than initially estimated, some even reduced to less than a tenth of the original estimate. So, we've calculated our financial goals together. Some of you may look at these numbers and feel that achieving them is a distant prospect. How can you speed up this process? The methods presented in the book are quite common sense: increase income, reduce expenses, earn more, save more. In terms of earning more, the author suggests that each person can have 3 sources of income: work income, passion income, and investment income. This emphasizes that investing is something we should do whether we are accumulating our financial goals or after achieving them. It's a tool for acceleration before and a means of generating income afterward. Alright, so how do you go about investing? The next 3 steps, 4, 5, and 6, are all about this topic, so let's combine them. Up to this point, I've read several books on financial management, but what pleasantly surprised me about this book is its clear and practical approach. It provides a roadmap that's so clear you can almost copy it directly. It effectively combines the principles of preserving and increasing wealth. We know that investing mainly involves 2 things: asset allocation and timing. Asset allocation focuses on what to buy and how much, while timing is about when to buy. Often, we hear loud voices in the market, people shouting about entry points, increasing or reducing positions, all of which are about timing. However, this book tells us that the best timing is often no timing at all. In other words, it's about setting up your asset allocation from the beginning and sticking to it, or continuously investing according to that allocation. This is because predicting the market is extremely challenging and time-consuming, and it's difficult for amateur investors to excel in this regard. Furthermore, asset allocation is far more critical than timing. In the book, we can see that despite different viewpoints among investment gurus, they all agree on one thing: asset allocation is the most important factor determining long-term investment performance. For example, Warren Buffett, often referred to as the Oracle of Omaha, insists, "My job is allocation." Also, David Swensen, the chief investment officer at Yale University, frequently emphasizes to his students that asset allocation explains the vast majority of investment returns. When you consider the commission fees incurred with each buy and sell in timing the market, asset allocation's importance becomes even more evident. Additionally, if professional investors still have some skill and experience in timing, amateur investors are at a significant disadvantage. So, if amateur investors want to compete in the same market as professionals, they must rely on asset allocation. This is why amateur investors must emphasize asset allocation even more. However, asset allocation can be one of the most complex aspects of investing. Professors in universities often teach it in a complicated way, and investment textbooks are full of complex formulas. Professional investors use even more complex models. It's challenging for amateur investors to grasp how to do asset allocation. Fortunately, this book provides a clear strategy. It introduces a concept called the 3 buckets. The first bucket is the security bucket. This bucket seeks stability and primarily contains fixed income investments, including cash, money market funds, bonds, and retirement accounts. It aims at capital preservation and stable income. The goal is defense, not offense. The second bucket is the growth bucket. This bucket seeks growth and is willing to take some risk. It includes investments in equities, real estate, commodities, foreign exchange, and art. The goal here is to pursue higher returns. Importantly, the book advises against investing in individual stocks or bonds but rather recommends diversifying and investing in index funds. This diversification strategy allows you to spread your investments across a wide range of assets at the lowest cost, such as stock index funds, bond index funds, gold index funds, and real estate investment trust, REIT, index funds. So, how do you allocate the ratio between the security and growth buckets? This can vary from person to person. If you're more conservative, you can allocate 70% to the security bucket and 30% to the growth bucket. If you're more risk-tolerant, you could go with a 50-50 split. You might wonder, we mentioned 3 buckets, but adding the first 2 together already equals 100%, right? Yes, because the third bucket doesn't have a fixed amount. This bucket is called the dream bucket, and it's what sets this book apart from many other investment books. Author Robbins suggests that we should set aside a small portion of our money that we can afford to invest in pursuing our dreams. You should start now, rather than waiting until you have more money. You can set aside a very small percentage of your income each month, for example, 3%, into the dream bucket. Another suitable source for this bucket is windfalls, such as bonuses or profits from investments that unexpectedly rise. This approach is also helpful for those investors who always hesitate to sell during a bull market and end up missing opportunities. The money in the dream bucket doesn't need to be saved indefinitely, you can spend it when you want. It provides emotional satisfaction and excitement, allowing you to experience the benefits of your mood, work, and investment, rather than waiting for a distant future. Now we know that managing our wealth should be based on the concept of 3 buckets. The first 2, the security bucket and the growth bucket, focus on accumulating investment income with a balance between stability and growth. This essentially covers the 4th and 5th steps in this book, asset allocation and stable income. However, for many amateur investors, after hearing all of this, they might still not know exactly what to do. So, this brings us to our 6th step, learning from the masters. This can be considered one of the most substantial parts of this book. As we mentioned at the beginning, author Robbins has extracted information from investment gurus that the general public typically can't access. For example, Ray Dalio talks about a robust investment portfolio. We know that Dalio is the founder of Bridgewater Associates, a hedge fund manager, and the author of the best-selling book, Principles. His fund is highly successful, but it comes with a high minimum investment requirement. Only investors with $5 billion in assets can get in, and they need to invest at least $100 million. However, under the repeated persuasion of the author Robbins, Dalio finally agreed to release a simplified version of his asset allocation strategy for the general public. It's akin to a top martial artist revealing his secret techniques, making it one of the biggest selling points of this book. Dalio's allocation strategy is as follows: allocate 30% of your assets to stocks, 15% to intermediate-term government bonds, 7 to 10-year maturity, 40% to long-term government bonds, 20 to 25-year maturity, and the remaining 7.5% to gold and 7.5% to commodities. This strategy is remarkably clear and concise. I've included a diagram in the text that you can save or refer to while listening to the explanation. If you want to replicate this portfolio, there are 2 key points to note. First, in the stock basket, don't just invest in a few individual stocks, instead, aim for further diversification by investing in stock index funds. Second, the portfolio must undergo periodic rebalancing. This means that when one asset performs exceptionally well and its percentage in your total assets increases, you should sell some of it to bring it back to the initial allocation. For example, if stocks surge in a year, and their portion of your assets grows to 40%, you should adjust it back to 30%. Rebalancing like this should be done at least once a year and is not exclusive to this portfolio, it should be applied to your own asset allocation as well. Dalio and many other investment gurus emphasize that this is a risk diversification strategy across time dimensions. It might be somewhat painful but increases your chances of success. You might be curious about the principles behind Dalio's asset allocation strategy. There are 2 main principles. 1. Risk parity. Dalio's idea of balance differs from the typical understanding. When people talk about balanced allocation, they often think of an equal split, but Dalio believes that a 50-50 split between stocks and bonds isn't balanced. Stocks have 3 times the risk, volatility, of bonds. Holding a 50-50 combination actually means that 95% of your portfolio's volatility comes from stocks. To achieve balance in terms of risk, you should allocate a smaller percentage to riskier assets. 2. All-weather strategy. Dalio believes that there are only 4 scenarios that drive asset price changes: inflation, deflation, rising economic growth, and falling economic growth. These 4 scenarios constitute what he calls the economic seasons. In each season, certain types of assets perform well. However, even if you understand this, it's challenging to predict which season comes next. So, the key is to design a portfolio that can protect your wealth in all seasons. This is the basis of the allocation strategy mentioned earlier. Robbins received this allocation strategy from Dalio in 2014 and subsequently assessed its real-world performance. The results showed that between 1974 and 2013, a span of 40 years, this portfolio had profitable years exceeding 85%, 2 years with balanced returns, and only 4 years with losses. The largest loss was 3.93%. Over these 40 years, the average annualized return, after fees, was 9.88%. Remember Warren Buffett's ultimate investment rule? Rule 1, don't lose money. Rule 2, never forget Rule 1. Dalio's allocation strategy aligns with this principle. Apart from Dalio and Buffett, Robbins also interviewed several other investment legends, including John Bogle, the founder of Vanguard Group, the world's largest index fund company, Carl Icahn, one of the greatest activist investors globally, Shiva Boo, the founder of the largest securities brokerage firm in the United States, and Sir John Templeton, often considered one of the greatest investors of the 20th century. Even elite members of the investment world may never have the chance to meet so many masters, let alone engage in in-depth conversations with them. So, if you're interested, I highly recommend reading the 6th part of this book. Now, we've finally arrived at the 7th and final step in creating lifelong income. The previous 6 steps focused on small finances. Now it's time to delve into big finances. The final step is about the biggest secret to wealth, and it's called, enjoy and share to the fullest. The purpose of this step is to remind us that the greatest wealth for everyone isn't money, it's passion. Feeling the passion of life is the ultimate wealth. You're not alive to accumulate money, you're here to use money to live a happier life. Reading this part, you can deeply sense that the author, Robbins, as an expert in igniting the power of money, has a tremendous inner passion and sincerity. We all know that money can't buy happiness, but on the other hand, money can indeed make us happier. The key is how you use your money. 2 Harvard professors, Dunn and Norton, wrote a book called Happy Money, scientifically proving that there are many ways spending money can increase our happiness. The 3 most important ways are: 1. Invest in experiences, such as traveling, learning new skills, and gaining knowledge, rather than accumulating more material possessions. 2. Buy time for yourself, outsource tasks you dislike or dread, like cleaning or plumbing repairs, allowing you to pursue things you love and find more rewarding while money takes care of the rest. 3. Invest in others. The author Robbins emphasizes this point strongly. The book cites numerous scientific experiments that show giving money to others brings genuine satisfaction. This satisfaction extends beyond subjective happiness, it also positively impacts your physical health. Winston Churchill once said, "We make a living by what we get, we make a life by what we give." This is what Robbins considers the ultimate secret of wealth, giving. Research shows that when people buy things for themselves, they experience happiness for only a few minutes or at most a few hours. But when they buy things for others, even small gifts, the joy of giving lasts at least a whole day, often extending for several days or even weeks. Surprisingly, this giving is not limited to family and friends. Helping strangers can leverage our happiness significantly. Psychological experiments reveal that giving to strangers in the form of food, money, or volunteering can bring happiness levels 10 times higher than giving to acquaintances. Robbins points out that many well-known billionaires like Carnegie, Rockefeller, Buffett, Bill Gates, and others, after accumulating vast wealth, dedicated themselves to philanthropy. This was largely because they realized that the happiness derived from giving is the greatest wealth one can possess. For example, steel magnate Andrew Carnegie is a classic case. He spent the first half of his life making money for himself and the latter half giving it away. He even wrote an essay titled The Gospel of Wealth, describing his profound shift in worldview regarding life and wealth. This essay later expanded into a book and was required reading for all students by Nobel laureate Amartya Sen. But you might wonder, they had so much money, of course, they could afford to be charitable. What about ordinary folks like us, struggling to make ends meet? Can we afford to give? Here, we can look at the author's own experience. When he was young, his family was extremely poor, often going hungry. On Thanksgiving when he was 11 years old, he opened the door to find a basket of food left by a stranger who didn't even leave their name. This act of kindness deeply moved him. Later, he began emulating this kind-hearted stranger by providing meals to needy families he didn't know. When he had little money, he supported 2 families per year. As his wealth grew, he expanded his philanthropy to 4, and then 8 families. Now, his foundation can provide 50 million meals every year. Additionally, all the profits from his books go to charity. In this book, he emphasizes that, for ordinary people like us, it's not necessary to make large donations. Even participating in charitable programs, donating small amounts, helping strangers to alleviate hunger or suffering is meaningful. Furthermore, giving isn't limited to material things, it can also be your time, your emotions, your presence. Showering your family, loved ones, and friends with this warm and vibrant generosity is something each of us should create more of. So, in summary, let's review the 7 steps to creating lifelong income presented in this book. 1. Save more money. 2. Avoid getting scammed. 3. Make a plan. 4. Allocate your assets. 5. Stabilize your income. 6. Learn from the masters. 7. Enjoy and share to the fullest. Finally, let me leave you with a few poignant quotes from the book. 1. Investing and managing finances must bring inner peace. If you make money but your heart is restless and your life is chaotic, it's not worth it. 2. The secret to accumulating enough wealth is simple: find a path where you can do more for others than most, and do it better than most. Make yourself more valuable. 3. Life isn't just an adventure, it's a journey to be enjoyed. You can find both adventure and happiness everywhere, in your loved one's eyes, in the little things. You can win the jackpot everywhere. 4. The meaning of life isn't about what you receive but about what you give. What you receive never brings long-lasting happiness, but the kind of person you become and what you contribute will bring enduring joy. Congratulations on completing another book. Thank you for your support and attention. Please subscribe to the Tim Booker channel, like, and share with your family and friends. Wisdom is worth spreading, and it opens the door to a brighter future. Thank you, and goodbye.